Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I should probably add to that I have been teaching at Loyola University here in Baltimore for 5 years, and I'm still living in Baltimore, so I have some roots in the Maryland soil. When I was reflecting on the title of our gathering tonight, I was thinking this title is so rich, I do not need to do much more than just give you some thoughts about the three words that come together in this title. So I will tell you a little bit about peace, a little bit about education, and a little bit about dialogue. And I will do so since I am, just like my colleague sister Eileen, a teacher of theology and of comparative religion, mainly Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. I will mainly do that from what I know of these three religious traditions. So the word peace is often used when we talk about peace to indicate the end of violence or warfare. But our religious traditions know that it has much more encompassing roots and a much broader meaning. The word peace indicates the world as it should be, as it is meant by God, as the religious traditions say. Shalom, for instance, in the Jewish tradition, is a very broad vision about the harmony of the entire creation. Not only human beings, but the entire creation is part of that. And it's a vision of the end time, which means it will be reached when God wills it, inshallah, and when we are ready for it, and when we have done enough to contribute to it. So, in the end, it will be reached, but we will have to work for it here and now, and even more, we can experience some little bit of it every now and then. Christians claim that they see this peace realized in Jesus Christ, and therefore they talk about the peace of Christ, Pax Christi, the peace of Christ, which is something that we wish one another weekly during the so-called kiss of peace in the liturgy. It's not very often a real kiss, but it's at least a greeting in which we turn to one another and say one another what we wish to let happen among us. And when I was thinking about it, I thought, well, of course, Muslims have the same in the Taslim, when they wish one another peace at the end of the prayer and say, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. It is an important greeting, but it is also an important part of Muslim prayer. And it is also the moment when we turn from prayer to look to one another and say what we wish our world to be. And you may know that there is also the Muslim tradition that you even say Assalamu alaikum when there is no one there, because you greet the angels that go along with you and that pray along with you. So we are not alone as human beings. So I think that indicates a little bit how much broader peace is than only the absence of violence. The second word, education. Of course, it is my daily job to educate students. And when I teach, like I did this afternoon, you always think about what students will reach, but also where they came from. And it is, I think, interesting to know that the word educations come from a Latin root, educere or educare, which means to bring out, to lead someone out to something new. And I always have in mind Prophet Abraham, when I think about it, who also went out and began something new. So education, I think, is always a process in which something new is gained and something old is left behind. In the tradition of Islam, what is left behind is ignorance, jahiliyyah. And what is gained is knowledge. For instance, in Surah 96, Surah Al-Qalam or Al-Alaq, which is, according to many scholars, the first surah or the first couple of verses revealed to Prophet Muhammad, this surah says, in English interpretation, recite in the name of your Lord who created. He created human beings from a clinging form. Recite, your Lord is the most bountiful one, who taught by the means of the pen, Allama bil Qalam, who taught man what he did not know. So, education is a duty. And in my own Catholic tradition, we have many religious orders and congregations, and Sister Aline's order is one of them, that have concentrated on education in a very special way. Last week, 2 weeks ago, I was in Chicago at the meeting of the American Academy of Religion, and we had a panel on education, spirituality, and the mission of institutions. And while attending that panel, it dawned on me how much I have been formed by the specific calling, by the specific educational vision of some of these rich spiritual traditions, such as, for instance, the Dominicans, the Augustinians, the Benedictines, the Jesuits, the Franciscans, and the brothers of Jean-Baptiste de La Salle. So you may guess, I have two sons. One of my sons is at Loyola Blakefield. Another of these sons is at Calvert Hall. So you can see how we spend Turkey Bowl. This is the real Baltimore people among us. All forms of teaching in a certain mode that have made me and that have made so many others into what we are now, and hopefully will make our children to what they are now. So it's always leading someone from where they are to a point beyond that. And I think that makes education such a big contribution to peace. Finally, the word dialogue. Maybe that is the most intriguing word. It is from the Greek, and it literally means to talk through. I can talk about this for hours because that's, what I usually do. But let me just say that for me, to talk through indicates coming to a deeper knowledge, and more specifically, coming to a deeper knowledge by using another person as a step, as an important step in coming to knowledge. I think that is what dialogue is. In the first instance, historically speaking, dialogue is a literary form. It's used in plays, it's used in philosophical works, and it indicates a coming to knowledge where we use another role, another person to share the truth, so to say. So the truth is not found in monologue, not by one person speaking, but it is found in dialogue by several persons speaking, and before they speak, listening. I think that is very important. To my knowledge, that is very beautifully expressed in the Jewish tradition, in the Talmud, in which the truth is found by balancing two opposing points of view. My friend Chris Layton of the Institute for Christian and Jewish Studies here in Baltimore always say, when you have two Jews, you have three opinions. But that is it's not just that they can't agree on one. No, it is they find the truth by differing in opinion. And of course, here in America, we have this great tradition of the debates. I'm not talking about political debates now, but if a debate is done well, then it first consists of listening, and only after you have listened, you can start to speak. And I think that's a great contribution to our society, and maybe that might be the most important thing in dialogue and in education, that you start by listening, and you also start by realizing that maybe it's not so much that you get from ignorance to knowledge, but it is that you realize that you thought you knew, but maybe you didn't. And I think that's the deepest contribution to dialogue, to bring ourselves to realize that the images that we have of other people, other religions, other cultures, other political points of views, they might be just images and they might not be real knowledge. So maybe the biggest contribution both of education and dialogue to peace is that it learns us to first listen to the other and to think about our own prejudices as a way to achieving a better situation in which we can all live together peacefully. Thank you very much.